Ow. Alright guys, for today's video, I just like many of you who have come across my channel, I am too subject to the algorithm, and a video kind of popped up on my feed the other day, and I watched it, and some younger chick, I think her name, The War on Beauty is the name of her channel. Put a little thing here if you want to go check her original video out. And it's her talking about how her family's car, whatever, it's a newer vehicle, and the transmission's taking a dump in it, and they were going to look to replace the car with something new, and we all know that new cars suck. And they decided that they were going to fix what they were doing, and she kind of looked into the things about there's starting to be an analog revolution among younger kids, which is fantastic. And I'm saying younger kids now. None of you guys know how old I am, but I was lucky enough to live all my formative years in the 90s. Okay, I lived before the internet came into existence, you know, for people to start using it. I lived through the internet being cool, and I'm now, you know, living into the internet just being a dystopian hellscape. And since living through all of that, I can clearly and safely say that humanity peaked in the 90s. It just did. That is when we were at our best, and everything has been a steady decline from then. With that all being said, I have made it my purpose to avoid as much of the newfangled crap as I can. I don't have smartwatches. I have a smartphone, obviously, because it's hard finding a dumb phone now, but no real smart TVs, none of that stuff. I still listen to my CDs, all that. I don't, you know, all my watches are either quartz or mechanical, all that sort of stuff. And apparently now that is happening with the younger generation, Gen Z and Gen Alpha, which is fantastic. It's what needs to happen. But so I wanted to kind of look at this and trying to say, look, we need to get people into more analog cars, into older cars. The most of you people that are seeing my videos came here because you saw my railing against flock cameras, and I started going the whole thing against spyware and stuff like that. And the beauty about older cars is none of that stuff exists in them. They are what cars are truly meant to be. They are transportation from one place to other. They are not appliances. All new cars now, especially from, I think it is 2021 onward, are pretty much like 95% of cars or something are connected to the internet in some way. We do not need to live our life like we're in the Matrix. I don't understand why we have gotten to this point in time. There's unfortunately so many people that are born in this world that do not know what life was like before it is the way it is now. Like they can't even fathom that we used to be able to go out and go away and do things and not be constantly monitored and know when we are and still manage to survive and come back home safely. They can't manage that. They can't not have a stupid little computer in their pocket and on their wrist to connect into the internet to look up absolutely anything. They had to actually learn knowledge through books and stuff. But there seems to be a rallying against that, like just analog stuff in general, with sales of vinyl records and just quartz watches, not smart watches, stuff like that. The physical media itself, that is starting to make a comeback, which is very, very good, because by ownership in and of itself is what makes you kind of who you are, right? You have the ability to express your personality through the things that you decide to consume, and not only consume, but the things you decide to own, because when you own something, you are invested much, much more into that certain aspect of your life and your personality to make you want to take what it was that you like and grab it and bring it in close to yourself. So ownership of things is great. The society itself, and not necessarily society, but the ones that run society, the ones that profit from all this stuff, they have been trying to push everyone to a subscription-based model for every aspect of your life, and that includes vehicles.
This is real. This is not a parody. This is not the Babylon Bee. This is real. 8 predictions. You'll own nothing, and you'll be happy. Based on the input members of the World Economic Forum, whatever you want, you'll rent, and it'll be delivered by drone. You just rent it.
You can buy cars, new cars now, to where if you want, your car has all these options, right? Like heated seats and massaging seats and or whatever, stuff like this. If you buy a car, I think BMWs do this a lot. If you buy a car that comes with heated and massaging seats, you get 3 months of it for free, but then you have to pay a subscription service to then get what was standard on the car you've already spent money for to be able to continue to use it. You don't actually get to own that, and that is a severe, massive problem. And I'm not even, and this is completely aside from all the spyware and stuff in it. This is just the fact that you're not getting to own anything. You have no right to do anything to that. There's a war on the right to repair. I made a video on that a while in the past where GM and Ford went to the White House and met with Trump and were trying to push a bill that would take away people's rights to be able to work on their own vehicles. How is this something that we should be accepting of? It isn't. We shouldn't, and we should be pushing back. And for me, this is a car channel, right? I have a couple little tech reviews on here, but mostly my whole bread and butter is about cars. And I think the best way that we can push back against that is by doing it with our car choices. I believe that cars themselves should have a personality. Not a single new car in the past, I don't even know how long, has any sort of a personality. They're all the same, pretty much same version of a certain shitbox design that you have to get with a different badge on it, all because things are mandated on federal levels, either from the US or the EU or whatever, and all cars have to appeal to that. They have to make sure they have to reach certain crash safety standards, pedestrian crash safety standards, blah, blah, blah. And when you add all of these things together, it very much limits the design of what a car can actually look like. Since they all have to meet these parameters, you can only alter the design around those parameters so much before everything just looks the same. And that takes away the character of the car. A car is, getting philosophical here, a living creature, and it should be treated as such. It is not an appliance. It is not disposable. But the entirety of the world has made cars and everything else disposable. They are just treating them like just anything. Like for all these people to get like a cell phone, they'll buy a cell phone, they'll spend $1,200 on their new whatever iPhone just to get rid of it and spend another $1,300 6 months later because the Apple just released a phone that is the exact same as the phone they just bought, but it has 1 extra megabyte of storage in it, which it could have had from the beginning. But people, they just live and regurgitate and they cycle all that shit up. Which is bad. We need to get away from that model, and the way we can do it is cars. Make analog cars great again. What do I count to be an analog car? A car that is not connected to the internet at all, right? We don't want to be connected to that. We don't want to be monitored. We don't want any of that stuff. A car does not need to have telematics in it, okay? Things that are good, like have come from new cars, like ABS brakes, no one's going to argue that that's a bad thing. Airbags, also a fantastic thing. 3-point seatbelts, yes, good things. But you can still have those things while a car is still being analog. A car can be detached from all that stuff. It doesn't need to be constantly connected to some system, collecting data, and being monitored, all that stuff. So older cars, in order to get to that, you have to go older. Now, let's just look at a couple things here. We have the average car on American roads is now 12.6 years old. This is a 2024 thing. It's probably even older than now. It's probably, they say, it bumped up to 12.8 over the past 2 years. And why is that happening? Well, mostly because the price of everything has gone up and the amount of money people are making has not. So the people that were usually inclined to buy new stuff just for the sake of buying new stuff, whether or not they needed it, they can't quite do that as much as they could in the past. That is the main leading factor of this. Now, anecdotally, I just figured mine out here. The average age of my vehicles that I own or in my stable, 32 years old. That's the average age of mine. My newest one is the Cruise. Everything else is old. So I have obviously held on to stuff a lot longer than other people. And why? Because I own it. It's mine. I can do what I want to them, and I can fix what I want on them. I am not subject to some other outside external force trying to tell me what I can and cannot do on my own vehicle, or I can and cannot do to fix my own vehicle. If I have the tools, I have the time, I have the patience and the knowledge and the know-how, I can fix them on my own. I am not subject to someone else doing it for me and having to pay them for the privilege of being able to fix my stuff. Okay, this is the beauty of older analog vehicles and ownership. Things have gotten so convoluted now. Without specialized equipment for every sort of manufacturer, you can't even really figure out what is working or what is wrong with your car. What's going on, what's bad, what's not. It's damn near impossible now. The beauty with older cars is they were designed by people who actually understood vehicles and understanding and working on things now. Now you have cars that are designed by people that have never held a wrench in their life. They don't know what it are. They treat cars more as a rolling computer than as a rolling mechanical object, which it should always be. So the older a car is, the easier it will be able to be fixed, because generally there's a lot more room. The established knowledge that goes with these cars is much more vast that you can find. You can go to the OG guys out there who have been working on cars for forever, and they can, MacGyver stuff up and fix a broken car on the side of the road with some chewing gum and a paper clip, because they were easily fixed like that in the past. Now you can't. You have one sensor failed, your car is screwed until for months on a time. There's some cars that go, I think I don't know. I don't know if it's Ford or Dodge, but I've seen like a story at one point in time where like some guy hasn't had his car in 6 or 7 months because some module in the transmission has failed and he can't get a replacement part for that one stupid module in the transmission. So it's just been sitting there for months at a time, not having a car that he has paid for. That's ridiculous. We need to get away from that. So we need to go back to cars. We need to keep ourselves kind of older. We need to start owning things more and more and more. And on top of all that, just the price of things has gotten out of control. I looked here just to see, this is through Edmunds, what was considered one of the very most reliable cars in the history of the planet, a Honda Civic, right? Old Honda Civics, they could run forever. New Honda Civics, not so much. And this is a different thing. I'll address this slightly, but it's all for a different video. But I just wanted to look up what I could see would be the cheapest Honda Civic you could get. And apparently entry level, according to Edmunds, is supposedly around $24,695. I doubt that. I don't know how you would ever be able to find a car like this. If you go to any sort of dealership now, they're going to have on their lots cars are going to have all this extra crap added onto it that's going to jack the price up. I do not believe that you can get this car for this price, okay? But let's just go with that. I will, for my own comparison here, tell you about when I bought my Cruise. I bought it brand new back in 2010. Okay, it's a 2011 model. At the time, I was driving a 98 Jimmy. It was lifted and I had to travel to work like 40 minutes a daily commute each direction, okay? That thing was killing me in gas. I missed the shit out of that Jimmy. I loved it. It was great. I wish I still had it. But at the time, it was killing me in gas. So I was able to trade that in and get the Cruise, which at the time when I bought it was the most fuel efficient ICE engine vehicle on the road. Period. Hands down flat. And the car payment for that was less than what I was paying for gas in the Jimmy every month. So per my circumstances, it worked out better. Now the Cruise, that engine ended up having tons of issues later on that are well known now. I have an entire playlist on all the fixes for all the known issues for that engine. But when I bought it new, none of that stuff was known. I got that car brand new It's a stick. It's actually a very fun car to drive. And turns out the eco version of that car is also actually the fastest of the cruises and faster than any other car in its class. All of that stuff, right? For less than 19 grand. Okay? And I don't think the eco is like the top model because it doesn't have, rear disc brakes or anything like that. But it's not the base model. It's like one of the higher mid-tier models, all for less than 19 grand. Now, if we look here at this 2016 or 2026 Civic, the basiest of the base models, about 25 grand, okay? For the basis of the base models that you can't even find. The average price, where is this? The average price in 2024, and I'm sure this has gone up now, for a new car is $48,510. Average price. That's insane. There are trucks and stuff now that people are paying money on that cost more than what I paid for my house. I don't see how people could even try and validate as being something that is acceptable. It is so absurd that the prices have gotten so out of control. But unfortunately, those prices, because the new car prices have gotten out of control, it's raising up the prices of used cars. But we'll talk about that here in a minute. I just want to kind of going through this stuff and expand a little more on what that chick said in her video. By all means, please go check her video out. But according to a study that was done by Haggerty, which is who I have my insurance through for my Camaros, is that 60% of Gen Z, they're born 97 through 2012, they express interest in owning a classic car, okay, and nearly doubling the 31% of baby boomers. Baby boomers, these self-absorbed, only care about themselves asshats are one of the main reasons that everything is as bad as it is now, because they only were concerned about them and their future, not what any of their decisions would have on anyone else. And then we can add Gen X, who came after them with they think themselves to be oh so cool and nonchalant and I don't care about anything, man. They have actually turned into what baby boomers are, and they didn't really actually stand for what they claimed they stood for. That's another different thing. But it's showing that young kids are being more into this. And then I think Gen Alpha is the one after this, maybe? Yeah, Gen Alpha, because that's what my kids are. Gen Alpha are the ones after this, and they're expressing a lot more interest in analog stuff altogether, which is good. The 70% of Gen Z respondents said they either loved or liked driving, indicating a promising future not only for the auto industry, but also for our collector car community. Now, with that being said, the whole reason I have my Z28 is because my aunt bought that car brand new back in '84. And she called me up one day and said, hey, I'm thinking about getting rid of my car. Do you want it? I'm like, sure. I have a cousin who is Gen Z who doesn't give a shit about cars. That car could have been his, but he didn't want it, so it's mine. So I am now the steward of yet another old classic car, an old analog car that cannot be traced, it cannot be shut down remotely, it cannot be taken away from me. And it's mine. I own it. You cannot say that about any sort of new vehicle. Okay? 32% of Gen Z and 30% of millennials born between 81 and 96. I'm an elder millennial. I'm considered one of those zennials where I'm like Gen X tendencies and then also the millennial, whatever you count as that. But only 30% of millennials have either owned or currently own a classic enthusiast vehicle. Again here, only 30%. This is where you guys, my fellow millennials, are just disappointing me nonstop. Guys, get it together. But now here's one of the main reasons why we need to get cars analog and away from all this stuff again. This is a BBC article. It was mentioned by the lady in the other thing. We'll just kind of skip through here and grab kind of the big things here. Modern cars are computers on wheels. Yes, this is what I'm saying. And they are using it to collect data on you. And you guys need to understand this, that anytime, it's not even any time, I was going to say any time where you get something for free, you are the product, but not even that now. Now you actually pay for a product, but you are still in fact the product, because all the data and everything that is collected on you guys, that is all happening by newer things. Old stuff cannot collect data on you, okay? So car companies will tell you themselves if you wade through the privacy policies, which no one ever reads because they are, 1,000 pages long of legal speak that no one understands. Information they harvest can include precise location data about everywhere you go, who's in the car with you, what's on the radio, and whether you buckle your seatbelt, drive too fast, or brake too hard. Some can gather details you might not expect, like your weight, age, race, and facial expressions. Pick your nose. Some cars have cameras on the inside pointed at the driver's seat, and most come with internet connections that can ship off the data as you drive in blissful ignorance. The cameras in the car, I'm going to do another video on that coming up here, and then shipping off your data. I'm going to say this now. I just had a dash cam company reach out to me, ask if I'd do a video on their dash cam. They said it's Wi-Fi enabled. I told them only if I can actually 100% disable the Wi-Fi and everything can be installed locally will I consider actually making a video on it. If not, don't expect seeing that here. But if you do see that on the channel, just know that I only chose it to do it because, yes, it will not in any way transfer stuff out and a signal cannot be picked up. Okay. All right. Yeah, most customers say they have no idea what's happening. People would be shocked at the number of data points the cars collect and transmits to other people, either manufacturer or third-party applications. There's Darrell West, a senior fellow in the Center of Technology Innovation at the Brookings Institute in Washington, D.C. It basically means your life can be recreated almost on a second-by-second basis. That should be terrible. You guys should be terrified by that, okay? And we need to know that there are no federal laws that actually control any of this. That's why this stuff is so rampant. That's why things like flock cameras exist. That's why all this stuff is happening. Because like our government is ran by a bunch of boomers that are completely out of touch with anything, and they don't actually care about anyone but themselves, so they don't even understand that this sort of thing is happening to then start to even do the process of creating guardrails to stop this. Frankly, what needs to happen, every bit of data collection of everybody needs to be stopped in every way, form, or fashion. That's what needs to happen. That is the only pure way to stop this, but that won't happen until we can get rid of all these old corpses that are in power and start to change things. Okay. There's this one thing here that's really ridiculous. All right, 23 Mozilla, analyst by Mozilla, explain the privacy policy, 25 car brands. Everyone failed to meet the privacy and security standards that Mozilla uses to compare brands. Mozilla said cars were the worst product category we have ever reviewed for privacy. And I 100% can understand that. Here is the ridiculous thing. According to a report, car companies reserve the right to collect details including your name, age, rate, weight, financial details, facial expressions, psychological trends, and more. Kia's privacy policy, for example, suggests the company may even collect details about your sex life and general health. Per Kia spokesperson James Bell says the company has never actually collected data on drivers' sex lives or health. The details only appear in Kia's privacy policy because the company is listing California's definition of sensitive data. Bell says Kia's privacy practices are transparent and the company only shares data with insurance companies if the drivers opt in. The company did not explain what kinds of sensitive data it does collect, however. Okay. A company can claim that they're not doing something, but we have all seen that what they claim is a lie. Again, going back to GM, OnStar, and LexisNexis debacle, LexisNexis was taking the information that GM was selling to them from the data they were collecting by people's OnStar units and selling it off to people, selling off to insurance agents and anyone else that would pay for it, okay? There was this one dude who had a 130-page detailed report on him and his whereabouts and wherever he went for 6 months from LexisNexis that LexisNexis sold to an insurance company that raised his rate by 21%. This is what's happening. And GM said, oh no, they didn't actually do that. And they only sold the information to the people that actually opted into the smart driver technology in the OnStar, which they actually didn't, okay? They sold anyone's information that they could. And this was only discovered in California, and the federal government sued GM a bit, and GM is now banned for 5 years from selling data. How about GM doesn't get to sell the data of people? And you know how GM can't send the data of people? You buy an older GM vehicle that does not have any of this data harvesting spyware in it. Analog. Be analog. Hyundai and Honda are also companies doing the same sort of thing. We all know this. Okay. Gonna get worse. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, here's this guy, 130 pages of information detailing his trip. 21 jumped his insurance rates. There's also a lot of you guys out there that like have apps on your phone that you sign into that then uses your phone telemetrics to make sure that you are not speeding or whatever you're doing, send that off to your insurance companies to try and get lower rates. Dude, stop that. You're not helping yourself in any way, form, or fashion. All you're doing is allowing them to spy on what you're doing. You're not going to save any money. What are you going to save, $1 or $2 a month? Is your entire life and habits and what you're doing and complete lack of privacy and everywhere you're going, all this stuff, is that worth $1 to $2 a month for you? You know how you'll save more money than just that? Pay for a year of insurance up front. You'll save like 10%. You'll save vastly more than you'll save by having an app monitor your driving monthly and send it out to your insurance. You just get your rate, get older vehicles, pay for it up front. You save way more money that way, guys. Come on. There's no privacy laws at national level protect this, blah, 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 blah. I think I've really kind of addressed kind of most of all this stuff here. But yeah, so even here, just for these, as I'm talking about those apps, an analysis from Maryland found 31% of drivers saw their insurance rates drop. Does not say by how much, but prices went up for 24% of drivers and 45% found no change. So pretty much half the people that opted in to having their entire life surveyed by an insurance company to save money didn't actually save any money. So what they did was they got paid nothing. They made nothing off of their own data that they willingly gave these companies to save money. A quarter of the people actually ended up paying more. So they gave away all their data and then they got to pay for the pleasure of giving away their data to other people. Stop doing this. We need to go back to analog. What counts as analog? And like I said, analog is anything that's not connected to the internet at this point in time. I am not one of those people that will try and say that cars were the best when they were carbureted, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I do not believe that is true. We are currently living in a time of stupid horsepower where every car is making insane amounts of horsepower. You have minivans that are making more power than muscle cars from the heyday back in the late 60s, okay? And they're much faster too. But they're not cool, right? They're minivans. So to try and say that things were better back then, power-wise and all that stuff, that is a complete fallacy. There are people that think it's easier to work on carbureted cars from back then. Sure, there's a lot of people that have great carburetor knowledge, but for me, I think fuel injection, perfectly great thing, and fuel injection is far superior than carburetors because you can tune your fuel injection thing on parameters per RPM and with timing and all this so that you can actually change the mapping of fuel injectors as you go and use as your car is actually driving under various load conditions. When you tune a carbureted car, you can adjust the base timing, you can adjust the timing at wide open throttle, you can adjust the jets in a carburetor, but it is set to those given parameters and it cannot alter. When you have fuel injectors, you can adjust it, you can program the computer to be more efficient with standard driving under wide open throttle, adjust each injector at this time, and match the timing up to this. You have much more programmability. You have much more repeatability across the entire power band of getting what you want out of a car with fuel injection. So an analog car can also be fuel injected. I think that's great. You also have things now where you have all of these companies like Aces, Jegs, Edelbrock, Holley, they all have, if you have an older vehicle and you want to switch to fuel injection, they have self-learning computers that you just enter in the base stats of your engine combo, your transmission, rear end, all this sort of stuff, and it will learn as you drive and adjust and program the computer per how you drive and all that. That's great. That takes all the programming guesswork out of it for you. All you got to do is wire it up. So to be analog, fuel injection is perfectly great, and I recommend that over anything else, okay? You can go carburetor if you want, but you want a car that's old enough, that is pre all of this spyware and all this stuff. So let's say if we want to take a GM vehicle, for instance, you'll want to go anything pre-OnStar, right? You'll want to go for cars that are known for reliability, at least that were known for reliability in the past, okay? Now, for me, I am mostly a GM guy, kind of like through and through. So I will tell you right now, a small block Chevy, a Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 3, up to the LSs or whatever, even Gen 4 LSs, they can run forever as long as you take care of them. They are perfectly great. They will run forever. Any car that has that is taken care of, they will last, okay? The main reason that cars fail now is because they are trying to meet different fuel standards and all this stuff while also increasing the weight of cars as they go. So what you have here are, in order to meet these fuel standards, you have engines that are far too small with some form of power adder, usually a turbocharger, that is trying to move around a car that is 3 times as heavy as it needs to be, all because they added in all these extra sensors and airbags and crash test zones on all this shit, right? Okay, so you could go and get yourself a Geo Metro from almost 40 years ago with a 3-cylinder engine that gets better gas mileage and is more efficient than a new car now, all because the car was lighter. The reason so many cars fail now is because you have undersized engines that are overstressed. The engines are too small, being asked to move too much weight. That is the main failure for these. Same thing goes with transmissions, and I'll do a more elaborate video on this in a minute. But if you're looking for an analog car, ones I would recommend, anything with a good solid small block Chevy, and that includes the 4.3 V6, because the 4.3 is nothing but a 350 with 2 cylinders cut off the back. Those will run forever as well. Old up until, I don't know when Honda started getting terrible, but let's go. Stop messaging me. You can go up to maybe mid 2000s. Hondas, they were ultra reliable. Hondas that could drive without oil in them for thousands of miles, because I don't know witchcraft, but they would run. Any old Accord or Civic like that, if you can find one, fantastic. Old Toyotas, all right? Top Gear has demonstrated that you cannot kill a Toyota Hilux, which if you're in the US is a Toyota Tacoma is what they're called. It was a Toyota pickup. Hilux was the worldwide name for it, and that is just Toyota pickup in the US, and then they changed it to Tacoma.
No, there it is.
But did it move?
I can hardly believe this myself. Ladies and gentlemen, here it is!
Any older one of those, can't kill them. They'll drive forever. Square body Volvos, I don't even know what the name of these things are. Those two will drive forever. You can't kill them. Some dude got, he was like up to 2 million miles or something in his Volvo. He did end up getting like a Volvo provided a different engine for him once or twice and a couple transmissions. But either way, they were cheap and you can fix them and work on them yourself. Those will run forever. And then also XJ square body Jeeps, those straight sixes in there, those will run forever too. The only problem with trying to find a nice XJ is a lot of them have been chopped up and turned into off-road rigs. So you can, you'll just have to look and try and get one that's not beaten up. But yeah, I mean, all of those sort of things, those are the cars that I would recommend now, if you can find them for cheap. And just understand the fact too, that if you're buying a car, you are buying a used vehicle. So even if a car is older and is reliable, there will still be people that have taken such little care of things that they can turn even reliable things into bad things. So they can still manage to kind of beat them down a little bit. So you'll just have to use your knowledge. You need to educate yourself on all these sorts of things before you go and try and choose some. But please, the way we will stop all of this happening is by stop playing the game. Okay? All these new cars, let them rot on the dealership lots. We don't want them. We don't need them. Actually, we shouldn't want them at all. We need to go older. Old stuff. Any old vehicle, any paid off vehicle will always be cheaper to be kept on the road than it is to buy a new vehicle. And then every time you buy a new vehicle now, you just have more intrusive equipment and more things that break. So avoid them at all costs. But yes, let's go analog with our lives, people. Okay? You don't need Bluetooth. You don't need Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. You don't need that. Buy yourself some CDs. Get some cassettes. Get some 8-tracks. Who cares? Grow a mullet. It doesn't matter. Just have something that is physical and tangible. When you actually own it in your hands, in your possession, it cannot be taken away from you. If you pay for a service, or if you pay for and buy something digitally, even if you pay for it under the guise of ownership, you are still only renting it until the time that the service that is providing it to you, that is hosting it on their servers or wherever, until they decide to pull that off of it. Once they pull that off, that money you spent is gone and you don't have that product anymore. If you physically own it, if you are analog, then it cannot be taken away from you. And that's what we need to do. We need to be more analog. Stop this push to this matrix dystopia, and let's go back to the good times in life, okay? But yeah, that's all I got for you today. Kind of a little bit meandering, talking or whatever, but I'm really into this. I hope you guys start picking up on this stuff too. And by all means, check out the lady I mentioned first at the beginning. Her info will be there in the description. And then I also too will have just these little things linked that I just looked at really quickly in the description. And yeah, let's fight back, man. Take back ownership of you and your life and all your stuff, and don't give it away to save a little bit of money or to think the next shiny thing is what you actually need, because I assure you, you don't. It's all it is just going to be outdated crap in 24 hours. So stop chasing that and start living old school as best as we can. All right, guys, that's all I got for today. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you're trying to go back to analog. If you never left analog like I did, yeah, let me know. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that stuff. And I will see you guys later. Thanks for watching.